Thank you all, and thank you for this, again, this very kind honor. I realize not many, how many of you have been to Ithaca, New York? All right, look at that, that's what I'm talking about. So you know that Ithaca, New York is home to Cornell University, Ithaca College, and TC3. It is, in many ways, the quintessential college town. We have more PhDs than we know what to do with, literally. And we were actually named last year the smartest city in America. Yes, and they elected. Oh no, yes, no, okay, fine. They elected the biggest sucker they could find, is what they did. It is a unique community, and it's a challenging community, and it would be a privilege for me to tell you a bit about it. But first, I want to tell you a bit about my favorite subject, which is myself. and tell a bit of my story, which I think you alluded to. I was born March 15th, 1987. And that wasn't even the punchline. You gotta wait for the punchline. Well, I was born, and when I was born, my mother had left her job about 3 weeks before I was born. When I was born, the umbilical cord was wrapped twice around my neck, so I was a blue baby. Despite what my brothers will tell you later tonight, that had absolutely no effect on my physical or mental development. But it did mean we had to stay a little bit longer in the hospital. And about 1 week later, my mother sat with the three of us, myself and my two brothers, on our front porch with a red eviction notice on our door. We moved first into a hotel and then into a homeless shelter. My mother worked hard to get us out, to get us back to our grandparents' home, to get us back to a small community in upstate New York that could help raise us. 18 years after that, I got into Cornell University, and not into some other school that shall not be named. I started working there. I worked 3 jobs to pay my way through school. When I was 20 years old, I was elected to the city council as a junior. 4 years after that, I had 4 opponents in a race. I knocked on every door in the city of Ithaca 3 times. I lost 20 pounds. This was great. I gained it all back almost immediately, but I lost 20 pounds. And took office. And when I won 18 out of 18 election districts, 55% of the vote. And what was waiting was the largest budget deficit the city of Ithaca had ever faced. It's a $3 million budget deficit, which may not sound like a lot, but for a small city, what that meant was we either had to lay off about 15% of our workforce or raise taxes by 12% across the board to fill that gap. The savings that we had been using for the last 3 years at the clip of about $2 million a year to close that gap was now evaporated. Right? There's no more savings left in the savings. Our unemployment rate was the highest it had been in 30 years, and the Ithaca Business Index, this is an index of all of our economic indicators, was the lowest it had been in 20 years. We had a downtown, the Commons, everybody know the Commons, that had not worked functionally or aesthetically really for half of its life. It was 40 years old, but the amenities underneath it were 100 years old. We had increasing traffic, congestion, a stagnated economy. What we've done since then is we reformed our government. And the first thing we did was consolidate departments. Instead of 12 departments, we merged our public information and our information technology office into one. We merged our building department and our planning department into one. We merged our controller's office and our chamberlain's office into one. In doing so, we streamlined enough services, we saved money, we offered a retirement incentive. We were able to lower the cost of running the government without having to lay off a single employee. We also changed our zoning laws to encourage more development in the areas that made sense, which was downtown, around the Commons, and in College Town. We had, in the 10 years before I took office, we had $100 million worth of growth. $100 million. In the 3 years since I've been in office, we've had $300 million worth of growth. Right? And that growth has not just helped our tax base, which it has, but it's also given people a chance to live closer to our locally owned shops. Instead of living on the outskirts where once they're in the car, going to the mall is the right choice, they live within walking distance of our locally owned shops. That multiplier has increased our sales tax revenue in record amounts. We went out and very aggressively lobbied the federal government to help us rebuild our infrastructure, not just our water treatment plant, which is the largest project we've ever done, but we are 4 months away from completing a complete renovation. The underground utilities, the above-ground hardscape of the Ithaca Commons, we're 4 months away from a brand new, beautiful, functional commons. In the 3 years that I've been mayor, in what is now 35 months, we've led New York State in job creation, 31 out of those 35 months. We now have the lowest unemployment rate in all of New York State. And on Tuesday, it was announced that our business index reached a record high, a high that we had not seen in 30 years. Now, I tell that story because it makes me sound good. No, I tell that story. I tell that story because when a lot of folks hear that, and this has been, we've had a chance to be on NBC and in the New York Times and in the Wall Street Journal talking about what's happening in Ithaca. And I've gotten overtures from the Republican Party. They've said, you've got a story that fits perfectly with the narrative that we are trying to promote, which is that if you work hard enough, you can pull yourself up by your bootstraps, and you can make a success of yourself and your community. And I get the question a lot, which is, why are you a Democrat? And I'd like to, here of all places, I'd like to answer that. It's because the story that I just told you is not the complete story. The true story is of a woman who worked harder than anyone should have to, who sacrificed for her 4 children. It's of grandparents who are retired school teachers, retired with a pension, right? That's not lavish enough ever to buy a boat, but was comfortable enough that we could move into their home, that they could help us buy shoes that we could wear to school. And it's the story of aunts and uncles, my Aunt Janine, who pitched in from the day I was born until, until today, and continues to pitch in. It's a story of a school who invested in free breakfasts and free lunches because they knew that nobody could focus on their calculus homework if they were worried about the rumble in their stomach. And I did get to Cornell. I got to Cornell, and I did work 3 jobs to pay my way through. But between those 3 jobs, the most I ever made was $15,000 a year. Right. Now, I know some of you, how many of you have sent kids through Cornell? Okay, all right. Now, how close are you going to be with $15,000 a year? Right, Shane went through, yeah, not close is the answer. So how did I do it the rest of the, well, Pell Grants from a state that recognized the wisdom of investing in young people, federally subsidized loans, scholarships from wealthy donors who gave not because they knew me or ever would know me, not because their investment in me would ever pay them direct dividends, but because they knew if we were going to be strong as a country, we need to invest in young people with potential, regardless of where they came from. And I did not just decide to run for the city council. There was somebody, as has always been the case, who blazed a path, who was actually, when I was elected, I was 20 years old in about 6 months. When Gayrod Townsend, who's here, was elected, how old? You were 20 years and, yeah, he knows, but he's not saying. He was younger than me. He was one of the first people of color ever elected to the city council. He broke through this barrier that said that students could not serve their community. He was elected 4 years before I did, and because of the work he did and the mentorship he showed me, he taught me how to speak in public. He taught me why I should speak in public. He got me not only elected city councilman, he made sure I knew what I was doing when I got there. He made sure I knew who to go to. And when I ran for mayor, I did knock on every door in the city 3 times. But I had 150 volunteers who knocked on every door in the city of Ithaca 17 times. 17 times. Right? They're the ones who moved the needle, who got me elected. And what we've done in Ithaca is not just grow the business economy, but in that $300 million worth of private growth, we also have a record amount of affordable housing growth, subsidized housing, so that we make sure this boom works for everyone. Hand in hand with the new hotels and restaurants that we're opening on an almost weekly basis, we have created a hospitality, employment, and training program for people between the ages of 18 and 30 who have either never finished high school, have been arrested in the past, or have a history of mental illness or substance abuse, so we can make sure that they are trained and they are ready to join an industry that is booming and has opportunities beyond what they thought was possible. And the development that we're doing, we're placing in areas that had never seen this kind of attention before. I am a Democrat because I believe that people don't pull themselves up by their own bootstraps. I'm a Democrat because I believe that there is no such thing as a self-made man. I'm a Democrat because I believe that every success in this country belongs to this country, that we are successful when we take care of each other, when we look out for each other. And I have to tell you that what President Kennedy did for people like my family, well, my parents' union would not have even been legal in more than half the states in this country. What President Kennedy did, what his brother, the senator from the great state of New York, did to advance the causes of civil rights and equal rights for all people. What Senator Ted Kennedy did to make sure that we take care of each other, we take care of our women, our mothers, and our sisters, to make sure that we take care of the people who are sick and help them get better. That is what has made my story possible. That is what has made our country possible. This family is the reason I'm a Democrat. What they have done is the reason I've been successful, my brothers have been successful, and my baby sister have been successful. So I'm so proud to be here, and I'm so proud to share it with you, and I'm so happy that I can thank you in person, that I can thank you, because I won't be able to thank all of the teachers, the senators, the governors, and the presidents who helped make our story possible. This is the honor of a lifetime to thank you in person, so thank you very much.